I'm 63 years old. I'll be 64 this month, and I cannot get hired. I've been trying. Believe me, I've been trying. Sending out applications, showing up to interviews, doing everything they tell you you're supposed to do. And nothing, and it's not because I can't do the work. I've been working my entire adult life. I know how to show up. I know how to get things done. But when you're in your 60s and you walk into an interview, or worse, when your face shows up on a Zoom call, you can see it. That look. They don't say it out loud. Nobody ever says it out loud. But you can feel it in the room. You're too old. They've already decided before you've said a word. And after months of that, I had this moment. I was sitting right here at this table, staring at my phone, refreshing my email for the 100th time. And I realized nobody's coming to save me. No hiring manager is going to look at my resume and think, you know what? Let's give the 63-year-old a shot. It's not happening. So I stopped waiting and I started figuring it out on my own. And today I want to show you what's actually working. The things that are keeping me afloat right now. Because I know a lot of you watching this are in the same boat. You're over 50 or over 60, and the world has decided you're done. And you need to know you're not done. You've got options. So let me show you. But first, let me tell you a little about where I'm coming from, because I think context matters. I've worked all kinds of jobs over the years. I raised my kids. I took care of family. I've been through hard times before, but this stretch has been different because this time the doors aren't just closed, they're locked. And the thing that really got to me wasn't just the rejection, it was the invisibility. When you're older and you're looking for work, people look right through you, like you don't exist, like everything you've done and everything you know just doesn't count anymore. And that messes with your head. It really does. You start questioning yourself. You start wondering if maybe they're right. Maybe you are too old. Maybe you don't have anything left to offer. I had this moment a few months ago where I was at a job fair and I walked up to a booth, and this young woman, she couldn't have been more than 25. She looked at me and said, "Oh, are you here picking up an application for your son?" And she wasn't being mean. She genuinely thought there was no way I was there for myself. And I just smiled and said, "No, I'm here for me." And she kind of froze, and I could see her trying to figure out what to say next. And I walked away from that booth thinking, this is what it's like now. This is what I'm up against. But then I thought about my sister. I was taking care of her for a while. She was sick and she needed me, and I was there for her every day. And during that time, I couldn't work. I couldn't do anything but be present. And it was hard, and it was scary, and it was also beautiful. Because it reminded me that I'm still capable of showing up when it matters. That I still have something to give. So when I finally had the space to figure out what was next, I decided I wasn't going to sit around feeling sorry for myself. I was going to try things, even if they seemed small, even if I didn't know what I was doing. And some of them worked better than I expected. All right, so the first thing, and this one was completely accidental, is YouTube, which is what you're watching right now. I didn't start this to make money, not even close. I started it because I was going through some life changes and I needed to process what was happening. So I just picked up my phone, and it's not even a good phone, and started talking. No fancy equipment, no editing skills, no plan. Just me, sitting here, sharing what I was going through, and people started watching and subscribing and leaving comments that made me cry. And it was kind of amazing, honestly, because I realized I wasn't the only one going through this. There are so many of us, people over 50, over 60, who feel invisible, who feel like the world has moved on without them. Someone left a comment a few weeks ago that said, "I'm 59 and I've been looking for work for a year. I thought nobody understood what this feels like. Thank you for making me feel less alone." And that's why I keep doing this. I got monetized back in January, and my very first check was around $800. I had maybe 1,000 subscribers at the time. And I remember staring at that number thinking, wait, people will actually pay me to just sit here and talk? Now, it fluctuates. Some months it's closer to $400. Some months it pushes $800. There's a summer slump where everything dips. I guess people are outside living their lives instead of watching videos. But it picks back up. And right now, with less than 7,000 subscribers, I'm consistently making between $400 and $800 a month. And honestly, it's the easiest and most fun job I've ever had. I've met incredible people through this. I'm learning new things every week. And I feel like I'm part of a community again, which is something I didn't realize I was missing until I found it. So if you've got a story to tell, and I know you do, I'd really encourage you to try it. You don't need expensive equipment. You don't need to be young or polished or perfect. You just need to be real. And you won't know until you put yourself out there. The second thing I'm doing is Uber, specifically deliveries. And I got into this because all the other delivery apps, DoorDash, Instacart, Amazon Flex, they all had waiting lists. I couldn't even get in the door. Uber was the only one that let me start right away. I signed up, got approved, and I was out doing deliveries within days. Now, I know this one depends a lot on where you live. I've heard from people in some areas who say it's just not worth it. The orders are too far apart. The pay is too low. The gas eats up everything you make. But I got lucky with my situation. I live in a semi-retired area where a lot of people don't drive anymore. So they're happy to pay someone to pick up their groceries, their prescriptions, their dinner. And because it's a small town, the distances are short. If you watch any of my delivery videos, you'll see most of my orders are like 1.1 miles, 2.2 miles. I'm not burning through gas or putting crazy miles on my car. Plus, I'm in California and we have Proposition 22, which guarantees you make at least 120% of minimum wage when you're on the clock. So, there's a floor. You know you're going to make something. It's not going to make me rich, but it's flexible. I do it when I want, for as long as I want, and some weeks that extra money is the difference between making it and not making it. And there's something else about it I didn't expect. When you're delivering, you're out in the world, you're moving, you're seeing people. After spending weeks alone in my house, applying to jobs that never called back, just getting in the car and doing something felt like medicine. It's simple work, but it's honest work. And nobody cares how old you are when you show up with their groceries. All right, number 3. And this was the most profitable thing I've ever done. And I'm kicking myself for stopping it. I was teaching art and craft classes out of community centers, yoga studios, juice bars, restaurants, anywhere that would let me set up a table and bring in some supplies. And here's how simple it was. I'd go on Facebook and post something like, "Hey, anyone want to learn how to make a mesh ribbon wreath? I'll be at the juice bar this Saturday. Sign up and send payment through PayPal." And people would sign up, sometimes 10 people, sometimes 30. I'd charge anywhere from $10 to $30 per person, depending on the project and the materials. I'd bring all the supplies, and we'd just spend an evening making things together, laughing, talking, creating. Sometimes I'd bring drinks or we'd do a potluck. I even hosted classes in my own home a few times. I live in a small town and I knew most of these people, so it felt safe and natural. And I was doing this 2 or 3 times a week. You do the math on 30 people at $20 each, 3 times a week. That's serious money, more than I was making at any regular job that would have hired me. The businesses loved it too. The juice bar got new customers walking through the door. The yoga studio got foot traffic on their slow nights. Everyone won. And the best part, I loved every minute of it. There's something about being in a room full of people who are all making something with their hands. Nobody cares how old you are. Nobody's checking your resume. You're just creating, and that feels really, really good. I had to stop when my sister needed care, and by the time I was ready to go back, other people had filled that niche in my little town, which, honestly, good for them. I'm glad the idea took root. But if you're crafty, if you can knit or paint or make wreaths or arrange flowers or do anything creative, think about teaching it. Hit up new businesses that want attention. Find a coffee shop or a studio that would love the foot traffic. People are hungry for connection. They want to get out of their houses and do something with their hands, and they'll pay you for it. Number 4 is eBay, and this one's straightforward. When I needed cash fast, I went around my house and started grabbing things I didn't need anymore. Old electronics, kitchen gadgets I'd used twice, books I was never going to read again, things that were just sitting in closets collecting dust. I took pictures with my phone, listed them on eBay, and started selling. Now, eBay takes a cut, about 13%, and shipping can eat into your profits if you're not careful. I learned that the hard way on a few early listings. There was this one time I listed an old sewing machine that had been sitting in my closet for years. I figured maybe I'd get $20 for it. Someone bought it for $65. And they sent me a message saying their grandmother used to have the same model and they'd been searching for one for months. And I thought, there's something nice about that. About your old stuff finding a new home where someone actually wants it. I still do this. Whenever I find something I'm not using, up it goes. It's not going to pay my rent by itself, but it keeps a little money flowing in. And sometimes that's exactly what you need to get through the week. Number 5 is setting up an online store. If you make things, jewelry, pottery, candles, ornaments, whatever it is, you can sell them online. Etsy is probably the most well-known platform, but their fees have gotten pretty steep. So I'd encourage you to look around. There are other options out there, and new ones seem to pop up all the time. My daughter makes beautiful jewelry, and we're actually planning to sell her pieces online soon. I'll do a whole video on that process when we get it going. But the point is, if you're creative and you make things people want, there's a market for it. You set your own prices, you work on your own schedule, and especially around the holidays, people are looking for handmade, unique gifts. So if you've been thinking about it, now's the time to start. And especially around the holidays, people are looking for handmade, unique gifts. So if you've been thinking about it, now's the time to start. Number 6, babysitting. And I know, it might sound old fashioned, but people are always looking for reliable sitters, especially around the holidays when parents want to go shopping or have a date night or need someone for a New Year's Eve overnighter. You don't have to watch strangers, kids. Start with people you know. Let your friends and neighbors know you're available. Set your prices. And you'd be surprised how quickly the word spreads in a community. I've done this and it works. It's easy, it's flexible, and honestly, spending time with kids keeps you young. It reminds you that the world still needs people who show up and care. And the last one, number 7, is pet sitting and dog walking. I haven't done this one myself yet, but I see people in my community asking for it all the time. People who work long hours and need someone to check on their dog during the day. People going on overnight trips who need someone to feed their cat. People who just want their dog to get a good long walk in the middle of the afternoon. And I love animals, so this is probably the next thing I try. If you're an animal person, look into it. Put the word out in your neighborhood. People need this more than you'd think, and they're willing to pay for it. Okay, so let me step back for a second. I want to be honest with you. None of these things individually is making me rich. YouTube brings in the most, somewhere between $400 and $800 a month. Uber helps fill the gaps. The craft classes were the big earner when I was doing them. eBay and the occasional online sale keep a little extra coming in. But together, they're keeping me going. Together, they add up to a life that works. And more importantly, I'm not sitting around waiting for permission anymore. I'm not refreshing my email, hoping for an interview that's never going to come. I'm not wondering why nobody wants me. I'm building something on my own terms with my own 2 hands. And I've realized something. I'm never going back to a traditional job. Not because I can't do the work, but because I don't want to. Because these things I'm doing, they're flexible. I set my own hours. I work when I want. If my granddaughter needs me, I go pick her up. If I need a day off, I take one. Nobody's going to fire me for being 63. I spent my whole life working for other people, showing up on their schedule, following their rules, and at the end of it, they decided I was too old to be useful. But I'm not too old. I'm just too old for them, and I think that's the thing I really want you to hear. If you're like me, if you're older and the traditional job market has decided you're finished, you are not finished. You've got skills, you've got experience, you've got stories worth telling and things worth teaching, and a whole lifetime of knowledge that somebody out there needs. You just have to be willing to try, to put yourself out there even when it feels uncomfortable, even when you're not sure it'll work, because you won't know until you do. So, if you've got ideas I haven't thought of, leave me a comment. Tell me what's working for you. Tell me what you're building, because I want to know, and maybe we can figure this out together. All right, I've got to go. I've got to pick up my granddaughter. I'll see you in the next one.